Right, good evening and welcome to the Year 9 Options Evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jackie Hills and I'm one of the deputies. I have responsibility for curriculum, teaching and learning. And running this session with me tonight is Paul Dwyer, who's assistant head with responsibility for timetabling and data. And together we're going to take you through this options process so you know what you need to do. The format of this evening is we'll start in here and then we'll transfer up to the atrium where the subject leaders have stalls set out to tempt you to join their options. It's highly competitive and obviously they want the students in their courses or on their courses. And we will be then aiming to finish at 8:30 in the evening to get everybody home. Okay, so to start, I just got to be very careful here that I don't plummet into the orchestra pit. Because if I disappear halfway through, Paul will take over. Okay, so before we start focusing on our Year 9s, let's think about the Year 11s last year. So, our Year 11s last year and their results. Our results were very, very good, and as you can see, they're impressive. And those results outperform the average for independent schools in the UK, as well as comparing very favourably with other international schools. And I think as we embark on this journey, it's really important for you to know the academic success of our students. In addition, these are our university placements for last year, the class of 2017. Now, as you look, you might automatically be drawn to the more elite universities. However, our focus at Kellett is about getting the right student on the right course at the right university for them. And that's what this evening is about. It's about getting them on the right pathway for this journey. Now, it takes sort of several deviations through it, but it's supporting them through it. Now, this slide here, you might be very familiar with. We often use it, and it's about this process that we're going through. Starting with the end in mind, thinking about where you want to go. Year 9, it might seem a long way off. It comes around very quickly. So what we're looking at is building this appropriate academic profile, and then also the personal profile. So it's not about just focusing on the academics, it's about creating all-round students that offer a lot of citizens into the world that they're going into. So let's start now thinking about, with that in mind, and our Year 9 students, let's start mapping the journey out. Okay, so as you can see, we are here. We're starting here in Year 9. The start of the journey that will take them through Year 10, 11, 12, and 13 and on. So we're focusing here, and Year 9 have already started a lot of the background work. In their GC programme, they may well have talked to you about the talks they've already received from subject leaders. They might have talked to you about the career talks that they've had coming in. Some of you may have also contributed to that programme. They might have talked about Launchpad, which is an online way of starting to look at their strengths, what interests them, and what way they might want to go in the future. And as you can see, this is all very clearly mapped out to support our students with the most support we can give them along this journey. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the British system. What we're looking at here at the end of Year 11 or partway through, depending on which courses they take, sitting GCSEs or international GCSEs. These are the British qualifications that students take at the end of Year 11, age 16. What we're looking at now as we're moving into it is the beginning of that personalisation into Year 10 and Year 11, and we'll talk in some more detail about that. Now, as you can see, we've got this change ahead. For our current Year 11, they will be the first students in English and Maths who will sit the GCSEs and IGCSEs, or the IGCSEs, with 9 being the highest, going down to 1. But there will be a combination of those. So the other subjects will still have A star to G. With the new grading system, you're looking at here a 4 or a 5 being a pass, a 5 being particularly a good pass, and that's what we're aiming for, and definitely the higher grades. Obviously, this curriculum change isn't without some sort of disruption, and what we've worked really hard is to ensure that it's seamless for our students. So our teachers have been involved in consultations, they've had examiners out, we've gone back to the UK for courses, all in order to ensure that your children, our students, are best prepared for these exams, so we know what's going on and we're clear on the content and the delivery of it. As you know, this change here is really quite significant because those of you who went through the British system will have all gone through the grades. Okay, this curriculum map is our eye test part of the evening, so if you peer really intently, you'll be able to see. This is on the website, and what I wanted to use it for is to really illustrate how our curriculum starts moving to a far more personalised format. So your 7, 8 and 9 pretty much stays the same. In year 8, remember, the students took on another additional language, so they have 2 languages here. Moving into this year, 10 and 11, and we're going to focus on that in some more detail. This is on the website. You can access it to look at it, what are the options available, and how best to support your son and daughter making this change. So, how many GCSEs, IGCSEs? It used to be thought that this was something you collected a bit like match cards, and you could get, the aim was to get as many as possible, and that would show how good you were. If you remember back to the slide I showed you about that irresistible personal profile, it's not just about the number of GCSEs and IGCSEs. It's about developing that all-round profile, that you take part in other learning service activities, you take part in different extracurricular activities. You really develop that personal profile as well. So in tandem, the strong academic profile and the personal profile are really good ways to support your entrance to the next stage of your career. So, what will you do? So year 10, this is what you're going to be focusing on. Year 9, when you're in year 10, this is what you're going to be focusing on. So we've got our compulsory core. These are the subjects that you still have to take. And these are the number of GCSEs or IGCSEs they'll give you. And this is the number of hours per week that you will spend on those. The English is 2, so that's English language and English literature, 2 separate qualifications. Mathematics 1 or 2, that will depend on whether they are on the accelerated curriculum, which will mean they will take their IGCSE in mathematics earlier and then potentially go on to take further maths. Science, the 3 sciences, biology, chemistry and physics, totaling 6 hours and 3 qualifications. And then our other compulsory core, of which there are no formal qualifications for, but support and underpin students, which is 3 hours of PE and 1 hour of the Global Citizenship Programme. The next thing they're going to take is compulsory modern foreign language or language, because they need to take one of the ones that they're doing at the moment, and that allows them to keep their options going forward. And then we'll focus on this personalised choice. There are 3 options available to the students. We're talking some more detail about that, totaling 3 hours for each subject, and we'll talk about the process we're going to go through with that. For those of you who've got children in older year groups, you'll notice that this is a change from previous years. Okay, so these are the subjects that you can choose from. So as you can see, highlighted in blue are computer science and media studies. These are 2 new subjects for year 10 next year and year 12 next year. This is completing our suite of subjects. Upstairs, when you go upstairs, Mr. Giddings has set up 2 tables there which give you a whole insight into computer science and media studies. Teachers have been appointed to these roles. They'll be starting next academic year, and they've sent through some information as well to help you with your decision on there. As you can see as well, there's other languages, so you can take, go back, other languages. If you want to take 2 languages, you can do that as well. The options form will take you through that process. So this is the really hard bit now. How do you decide? How do you make these decisions? If we talk about starting with the end in mind, sometimes you're not going to know what that end is. It's a long way to go. So these are some of the things to think about when making your decisions. Thinking about subjects you enjoy. Some subjects, and I'll talk about that in a little while, are going to come with a lot of extra work that you need to do with them. It's no good taking it because your friend's doing it and you think it'd be nice to sit and draw together in art. It doesn't work like that. You need to make sure that it's an informed choice that supports you. Subjects that you might want to study in year 12 and 13 or university, it takes you on that route through. Subjects that you're good at, because we all know that old adage, nothing succeeds like success. So if you feel you're really good at it, you're going to work really hard at it and do very well at it. Talk to your subject teachers now. Students have already started doing that. There's the opportunity when you go upstairs. Please email subject leaders or teachers as well. How suitable is this subject going to be for my son or daughter going forward? Look at the exam board specifications. You'll be given leaflets tonight. Look at what it entails. And I'm going to give you a note of caution in a minute as well. But really understand what that subject entails. There is a big difference between that subject in year 9 and that subject in year 10 and year 11. There's going to be a huge difference between subjects that you've never studied before. So you need to know what the content is of those and that you know and understand what you're going to be doing in those subjects. My note of caution. For subjects like design technology, and art and drama, they have a large coursework component. Now you could potentially take all three. And that's where my note of caution comes in, because you're going to find that you are going to have to put in a lot of extra work. Those students or parents have also come up and seen the exhibitions for D&T, the performances for drama, the art exhibition. You'll know that that amount of work is not achieved in 3 hours of talk time per week. There is a lot of additional time. And if you balance that out and you're taking 3 of those subjects, you need to make that informed choice. If it's your passion, if to you spending 3 hours one Saturday afternoon drawing or creating an improvisation in drama or creating part of your project in D&T is absolute joy and you'd love to be doing that rather than anything else, that's perfect for you. But if the thought of doing that is really something you really don't want to do, you need to factor that into your choices. You know, subjects like music as well, they have a lot of coursework element. That coursework element tends to all come together as well before the exam period, and some of them also have written examinations as well. So when you go upstairs, you need to be clear on what the course content is to make sure there's no big surprises just as you're heading into it, that you will go, oh no, I don't want to do that. So just think about that. As I said, please email subject teachers, head of faculty, anybody you want to get that other information from, and please do look at the exam syllabuses on the website. On that note, I'm going to hand over to Paul Dwight, who's going to talk you through the actual logistics of the process that you're going to go through.
Thank you, Ms. Hills. Okay, when you head upstairs, there's a very clearly labelled desk with the options forms on. Please make sure you pick one of those up. Okay, this is what the option form looks like. So essentially on that form, the top bit is the compulsory language that Ms. Hills has already talked about. So that is a continuation of a foreign language. That's important. They can't pick up a brand new one. It should be one that they're already doing in year 9. And then 3 choices, okay, from the list that has already been put up. That can include the second language if they wish. And then a reserve choice. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. So 3 choices with a reserve. This is how we go about doing this at Kellett. Many schools will basically give you a block structure to choose from. So they'll say these are the subjects in block 1, 2 and 3. You need to pick, okay, 1 from each. And obviously that has its limitations, because it means not every possible combination of subjects might be possible. Okay, so they might find art and music are in the same column and they can't pick both, for example. Okay, so that is a constraint. But what we do is we take all of the choices that the students will be putting on these forms, and we construct the blocks to maximise and make sure that a vast majority, if not all the students, get their first choice combination of subjects that they wish. Okay, now there's a big caveat on that. Okay, generally we do very, very well. So last year, out of about the 80 students in year 10, there was only one student we had to go to their reserve choice on. So that was a pretty good success rate. So a vast majority of students get their preferred combination of subjects. Okay, but the reason we ask for the reserve is that in some cases we might ask students to then go to that reserve choice if that combination is not possible. Okay, generally that only happens if it's a quite unusual combination that they go for. So it really is important that when students and parents are filling in this form, that, as Ms. Hills has already said, that it's an informed discussion and that they really feel like they're putting what they want to do on this form. So anyway, that's an example of what it will end up looking like. Okay, so there'll be a set of blocks, and the process is we'll be asking for that first form to be handed in before the Christmas holiday, so a relatively short time period. I'll show the dates in a moment, and then after Christmas the blocks will be constructed, and there will be a second options form where students will be asked to pick from that and finalise their choice. Now at that point they can change their mind, okay, so they don't have to put the same subjects they put on the first form. However, it has to be picked from the box at that point. Okay, so if their changed choice doesn't fit the box, then unfortunately that's not going to be possible. Okay, so it's quite crucial that they get their choice as close to what they want to do as possible the first time around. So this is the timeline. So the options forms you'll be collecting tonight, they need to be returned to your form tutors by Wednesday the 13th of December, please. Okay, that's quite a tight turnaround, just over 2 weeks. Okay, should be enough time to hopefully have discussions with your parents and to talk it all through. Then the option blocks will come out shortly before Chinese New Year. It could indeed be ahead of that date, but certainly by that date, the option blocks will be sent out. And then the finalised choice for next academic year on those forms will be asked to be made by the 21st of March. Okay? There is still some flexibility to review those choices and change them if they wish. We sometimes have students at the end of year 9 saying, no, actually I want to change, and that might be as a result of the year 9 exams that happen in May. That's absolutely fine as long as it still fits into the option blocks. The other caveat is that there is obviously some restriction on class sizes. So we sometimes find that we've only got one, let's say, DT class running or something like that, and so if we go above the maximum class size, then we have to try and do that on a first come, first served basis. So getting the forms in promptly is a good idea. But again, that only very rarely happens. Okay, so that's the process now. So make sure you pick up your options form. You're going to have lots of discussions now with the subject leaders upstairs, and of course students, parents, you can email the teachers themselves and try and obviously pin down their choice ahead of that Wednesday the 13th of December deadline. Okay, so I'm going to dismiss you now from the theatre. Do we have to do 11 finish? We'll wait for that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to head up to the theatre, to the atrium now, and the year 11 parents will then head down. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.